I did last time's intro. Hi, welcome to Geekula, episode 5.
It's not called Geekula. That's the word.
The podcast where we suck the life force.
Oh my god, I'm Will. Welcome to our unnamed podcast about nerd shit that we come up with. Reoccurring guest for our Christmas episode.
Ryan.
That's where you would put Jingle Bell like sound effects?
Yeah, I'm gonna do that.
And then, as we got Ryan back from the first episode.
Yay.
He originally was around to talk about his mutant power, which he still has, but we won't be talking about this time. This time he's got a bunch of topics, so let's hear your first one.
And I'm Dylan.
Hi, Dylan. Okay, first topic. Everyone likes different games, right? So, some people might like games that are hard because it's a challenge for them, like Super Meat Boy or Dark Souls. They just keep trying. And some people like games close to Assassin's Creed or any of the 3D Legend of Zeldas, where it's mainly just you're playing through the game to finish the story.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But they're super easy to complete.
Sure.
So, which games are better, if any? Is there a middle ground? Discuss.
The best game that combines challenge with story with everything is Portal 2.
I was about to say Portal 2 is the pinnacle of
Portal 2
everything.
is the pinnacle of game storytelling and experience.
Yeah.
The end.
Next topic.
I think Kingdom Hearts also fits in that realm.
Yeah. Like, I guess I'm curious about what difficulty level, if games have a difficulty level, what setting do you usually play on?
I play on the default normal setting. If there's an easier level, I don't go down.
Yeah.
But
I generally play on the easiest level because I do just want to experience the story and have fun.
That's the games I like, is the games like Assassin's Creed, Legend of Zelda, where I can just turn my mind off and play a game.
But I think if I like a game enough, I'll turn up the difficulty just to see if I can manage it. Like, I think I've played the first Kingdom Hearts on normal and proud, but as soon as Kingdom Hearts introduced critical, nope, not doing critical. Can't do that.
Level 1 mode?
Oh, no. I beat, like, when the HD remake of Kingdom Hearts 1 came out, they added trophies that were like, beat the game without changing equipment, and beat the game within 15 hours, and I think there was one other one that were all just like limiting you, and so I just put the game on the easiest mode and played through the whole game in less than 15 hours and got all those trophies at once.
Right.
And I know those are supposed to be a challenge, but the game was incredibly easy in spite of those. So, yeah, I generally, like, all of my favorite games are games that aren't difficult. They're just fun. And, like, I mean, even the games that are difficult, I don't... Like, I think about XCOM. Like, I really enjoy just zoning out and playing XCOM. And I play it on the easier difficulties, but even those easier difficulties, by the end of the game, get incredibly difficult anyway.
Right. Oh.
And, I mean, I generally just keep quitting and reloading a whole bunch, because by the end of the game, if anybody dies in that game, you might as well quit.
Yeah.
The games like Shining Force has no penalty for losing. You just keep grinding until you win.
How do you feel about Fire Emblem, in that it had that mechanic where if a character died, they died for good, and then the newest one, you had that option to turn that
this is
feature
interesting
off.
because I recently played Diablo in hardcore mode, where if you die, you have to start over, and I died like 6 times, but if I sincerely had just unlimited time, I probably would have kept trying for a good while. But that helps because you're playing with somebody.
Right.
So, I don't know. It was a lot more fun.
Like, I can see the appeal of the challenge.
I don't think it's necessary.
It's just not for me.
I genuinely, I mean, it seems like Fire Emblem made the right call introducing casual with people with permadeath going away, because, like, I played 4 or 5 Fire Emblems before the most recent one, and the reason I always quit playing them is because there was always one battle where I couldn't get everyone through, and, you know, you lose some of the lesser characters you don't really care, but eventually you get to a point where you don't even have enough characters to fill out your party, and you've lost... And you also never know in Fire Emblem when a character is going to be needed later to recruit another character. So if someone dies, you lose 2 or 3 characters, maybe. Yeah, I've never really liked... I mean, I was really interested when Diablo 3 first came out, that hardcore mode was a thing. Because, like, MMOs seem real watered down with every time you die, you just run back to your corpse and pick up your stuff, and nothing changes. And introducing the mechanic of... once you're dead, you have to start all over. Especially I mean, it's awful for some people, but it is a really interesting mechanic in multiplayer games where you're working with other people, and it really inspires you to keep everyone alive.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, if you're playing with your friend and then you're both level 40 or something and one of you dies, your friend can keep playing without you, but now you're level 1 again, and what's he gonna do?
Right.
So, I mean, I generally err on the side of... over time, I've erred towards storytelling and fun mechanics. I don't necessarily find challenge fun in video games.
It depends, because... the few games that because see, if a game is really good on all aspects and then has a bunch of challenges to complete, and I loved the game up till then I'll go through the trouble. Because, like, Katamari Damacy, I went and got everything.
Right.
And then Dead Rising, I really loved the game, so I wanted to play a perfect game, and I managed to do that as hard as it was. And, I don't know. I mean, you know, you go back to the N64 games and stuff. Resident Evil 4, I wanted to get everything on, because I loved it so much. So, like, if the game is already good enough at everything, then I'll want to go back and get all the challenge stuff. But I don't, like, if you just give me I don't want to play the, Ninja Gaiden.
Yeah.
Because people just go, it's the hardest game! It's like, okay.
Cool.
I mean, that's cool if you're into that.
Right.
But I don't want to beat a game so I can tell you how good I was at that game.
Yeah, it's like how I can never play any of the Dark Souls because they're just hard. Like, the people always go, they're hard.
Yeah.
And the lore is, like, you have to seek out the lore yourself. The game doesn't ever really tell you anything unless you make it. And it's like, I'd much rather sit back and relax and I mean, as far as I can remember, no BioWare RPG has ever been that difficult, and that game is just kind of like a leisurely stroll through an interesting world. And
I've had trouble with Dragon Age and Mass Effect.
Yeah,
but that's because if you start the game and build your character completely wrong, then it is super hard.
Yeah, that is frustrating about the Mass Effect RPG or all BioWare RPGs. If you build your character incorrectly too early on, you just have to start over.
Yeah,
which in a game like Dragon Age Origins, when the game's like 80 hours long, and you don't understand that you've messed up till 40 hours in, and you go, oh no. But yeah, because games like Portal 2, like I mean the first Portal, I liked it so much, it offered challenges like Out of the Blue, where you have to go through the whole game only coming out of blue portals.
Right.
And like I did that one night.
Wow.
Because I just went, I love this game. I want to see if I can do this.
When the Portal 2 ARG came out, and they had, you have to take all the radios and bring them to different places.
Right.
That was fun.
So, like, I definitely think, for me, video games have to be built, the foundation is fun mechanics to play, then a good story, and then if you have those two, you can build a giant spire on the top that is challenge. But I feel like most games, especially story-driven games, like BioWare games are good to have that like casual mode that is just, this is what you do if you want to know the story. We We promise you won't die 1,000 times. Mm-hmm. We promise you can't mess this up. I've never played a BioWare RPG on casual because, I mean, I do have. They are just challenging enough to be fun if you play them on like normal or whatever. I've never tried playing one on hardcore,
right,
or whatever the highest difficulty is. But yeah, generally, I like. How do you feel about locking content behind challenge? Like
I like
having,
that.
Like having the secret endings for Halo and Kingdom Hearts locked behind.
I feel like
completion and challenges.
Secret endings are fine. Like optional challenge to get more stuff.
Yeah,
that's great. Do that.
Yeah.
If there is a way to go around it and complete it normally.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like I like Kingdom Hearts where like if you play on the harder difficulties, you just have to beat it on harder difficulties, but if you play on easier ones, it's just collect everything, and you still get it. The thing that always weirded me out about like Halo 3's secret ending is you have to beat the game on the hardest difficulty to get what is really necessary information about the game. Because Halo 3's secret ending is Master Chief still being alive. It's spoilers for Halo 3, I guess. No. Master Chief is still alive in space at the end of Halo 3.
We're fine.
And it seems weird to put like story critical stuff behind challenge walls.
Right.
But like in Kingdom Hearts, like fighting the mysterious figure and seeing the like preview of the next game, like none of those secret movies are critical to knowing the story because the next game's gonna explain whatever the secret endings were.
Right.
Yeah, I like putting definitely like maybe like expanded gameplay content behind challenge. It's like Ultima Weapons and Final Fantasy games and stuff. Like those are going to take you a while, but they're.
That was another one. Final Fantasy X. I went and got the sigils and the. Remember how there was 2 things for every character? Yeah. One that lets you hit your limit break and one that lets you hit the Aeon's limit break. I went through the trouble to get all that goddamn bullshit. Right. Oh boy.
But yeah, challenge, good.
Yep.
Video games all garbage.
So you would prefer a game that has a, I guess, easier mechanic, not like super hard to get into.
Yeah, like you have games like Super Meat Boy that are really simple on their surface, but it's just a very hard game, and it became like. The first time I ever played Super Meat Boy, I did get to like the last world, and then I just had to stop because I couldn't.
To be fair, I beat 4 or 5 bosses on I Want to Be the Guy. Right. I gave up like a week of my life. Yeah. Like legitimately.
But you have Super Meat Boy, which is just extremely hard. But then you have a game like Explosion Man, which has the same basic mechanics, in a way. But I don't remember Explosion Man being that hard. It might have been hard. It's been long enough that I don't actually remember anymore. But I feel like Explosion Man's an easier version of that. Okay. So I would err on the side of, or like err on the side of fun, interesting mechanics, but they can achieve levels of complexity like Portal 2 mechanics. Portal 2's mechanics, by the end of the game, you're just like, there's so much stuff that you have to piece together. Right. But it teaches you Portal 2 is a perfectly designed video game. I don't know if our audience has got that yet. Play Portal 2.
Will, do you want to sum up how you feel?
No.
Anything to add? Nothing?
No, I like Portal 2.
Okay, we all like Portal 2.
More Portal, please.
Give us Portal 3. Okay, so we all just saw the new Star Wars, and it was super amazing, and you should go do that already if you haven't, and as soon as possible. We're not going to talk about that right now. Right now we're going to talk about how we're getting a new Star Wars movie every year for basically ever. Is that too much? Is it too little? Is it just right?
I want to preface this by saying I was not a huge Star Wars fan.
We're not allowed to complain about this because we get so many Marvel movies every year. Yeah. So, but our feelings are invalid.
But this is a different thing. It's like, I mean, Ryan's asking us like what like, do we want Star Wars to go to the level of Marvel movies where we're going to get 3 Marvel movies every year? Do we want 3 Star Wars movies every year? Is that universe...
I mean, the issue is that Star Wars was at that level in the 80s. It was already that popular, and it never stopped being that popular.
Yeah, but it's never...
Marvel has to keep making that many movies to stay that relevant. Star Wars never had to.
Yeah, but now we've entered the realm of...
But now that Star Wars is popular, should they make
Star Wars has always been popular.
I mean, like... I know that Star Wars has always been popular.
I'm saying that we don't have to ask the questions because Star Wars doesn't have this issue. Whether they make Star Wars movies or not, it's always going to be Star Wars.
It's not a question of popularity.
Okay.
Are we going to bog down the franchise if we release a movie every year?
No.
Just no?
No.
Because I feel like...
There's going to be good ones, there's going to be bad ones. We have the originals and we have the prequels, and Star Wars is still popular. There's the answer.
But, like, as a big fan of the EU and, like, all the books and stuff, there got to a point where you just could not follow every bit of information that the EU had.
Yeah.
And since all of the books were written by different authors, each one had a different feel to it, just like movies having different directors having different feels to them. And some of them felt more like fan fiction than actually part of the genre.
Sure.
Right. See, that's why what I was originally going to say was me not being a fan of Star Wars and then seeing this most recent movie, and now I'm pretty on board with Star Wars all of a sudden. It's like I went into this movie feeling like most people feel going into Marvel movies, which is I don't know anything.
Mm-hmm.
And now, like, saying that, Star Wars has a much, like Will's saying, Star Wars has a much lower hurdle to get over to convince people to come see it than Marvel does.
Right.
Like, Marvel had to jump through hoop after hoop to get people to come see Ant-Man.
Right.
But this Star Wars movie could have literally not released any trailers and just set a flagpole that was like December 17th, everybody show up, I guess.
Correct.
And everybody would have. So, I guess the thing is, could Star Wars release more movies every year? Absolutely. Would they keep making money? Definitely. But does it need it?
Yeah.
I don't know. I
mean, Disney wants it.
Yeah. And I think maybe if Disney is gonna like put their foot down and have, they already have, now they have 3 Marvel movies a year, which Marvel Studios just moved under full Disney direction, as opposed to still being like under Ike Perlmutter at Marvel. Like, now Feige answers to Disney corporate.
Mm-hmm.
And so they have that now, and then to also pile onto that, I feel like Disney's going to get to a point where they're going to start competing with themselves.
Yeah.
So, like, I fear the point where Star Wars is making them more money than Marvel, and they start cutting back on Marvel movies to push out more Star Wars movies, because people are like, well, we want to go see both, and they go, no, Star Wars, we're going to make more money in Star Wars, so... But I think, I like the idea of this release schedule of an episode and then like a one-shot movie.
Mm-hmm.
And, I mean, the problem is my crazy brain just immediately wants all the one-shots to matter and tie back in. And everything be awesome forever. But also, that's because if somebody had told me, back in 2008 that we were going to get, a Marvel movie every year, and we were gonna like start alternating between a major story and then like one shots.
Right.
So like you'd have like all the movies leading up to Avengers as a story, but then in between those, to break it up, they did what if movies, or they just did like here's what happened to Namor in the 40s. He's not going to show up in the present. Nobody cares, but here's a Namor movie for a second. Like, but then Marvel decided they're going to continuity build and everything matters, and so Star Wars could do that, but I don't know that Star Wars will. And I don't know that they need to. I mean, Disney just marched in and took the extended universe and threw it out, just tossed it away, and they're starting all over. But they've weirdly done what Marvel did, where they're like, okay, we're making new Star Wars movies, that are semi-based on all the extended content you guys already kind of know.
Right.
It's like how Marvel was like, we're going to make movies, they're going to be different than the comics, but they're going to take cool shit from the comics you already like.
Right.
So
yeah.
I'm not going to complain about more Star Wars movies.
So what you're asking is Star Wars going to become bad?
Could there be a point where we get another Star Wars movie?
I mean, people already say that about Marvel movies. It depends on how much of a fan you are. And it doesn't matter because they're still going to make money.
Yeah. I think for people like us...
Because at one point, there was a time where people went, oh, geez, another sci-fi movie?
True.
Yeah.
You know, there was at one point where people went, can you believe another Western? But like...
I mean, I still kind of feel like that about Westerns. Those just aren't my thing, which... That's everything. The people who don't like superhero movies and keep getting exhausted by them are the people who just don't like superhero movies. If people start complaining about there being too much Star Wars, it's because they just don't really like Star Wars, and I mean, they're not going to see the movie anymore. That's the other weird thing. They might still see the movie, though, because it is still Star Wars.
Right.
So, I think Disney can do whatever they want right now.
Okay.
They're on top of the world.
Alright. So, next topic.
What is it?
We're gonna... This is a better segue. Books adapted to movies. We love them most of the time. Sometimes they're good, sometimes they're bad.
Yeah.
Is it better to see the movie first and then read the book? Or is it better to read the book and then see the movie? Because, like, Harry Potter, I personally read the books and then went to see the movies.
Right.
I loved some of them. I was disappointed by some of them.
The fourth one's the bad one.
Hunger Games, when I heard those were being movies, I read the books, and now that I know how the books end, I'm not looking forward to seeing the movies, because I'm not that thrilled about how the third one ends. So,
right.
Lord of the Rings, I have not read the books, but I have seen the movies. And
Those books are boring as shit!
Because I've seen the movies, I have no interest in reading the book.
Right.
And then, most recently, The Martian, I've seen the movie, and that made me really excited to read the book. So... I've got a whole bunch of different scenarios.
You've gone through every permutation. Though.
Almost.
Right. If you asked me when I was in high school, I would have condemned you if you didn't read the book before the movie.
Me too.
But that's because I was burned by a lot of bad book movies.
I wouldn't have been. Although Ender's Game, the movie, was a bad choice. They did that wrong. Good actors, bad version. There are some movies that can't be... There are some books that can't be made into movies.
But, like,
they just
if you had seen the Ender's Game movie without reading the book, you probably would have thought it was a good movie. And then go back and read the book and say, okay, the book is so much better. And then you would have had a better experience because you liked both of them at one point in time.
See, I feel like what the problem is, what most people have, is a bias that for the most part, the one you get first is the one you like more.
Well, from what I've been told, the Cirque du Freak books are way different than the one movie that exists, but I really love that movie. But I've never read the Cirque du Freak books.
But I've read all the books, and I kind of hated that movie.
Right.
Okay. So
there you go.
I feel like...
There's a good example.
I feel like a lot of it is... Or some of it is whichever one you see first. Because there's like... And then there's stuff like... I've seen Fight Club a whole bunch, but I've never read the Fight Club book. But the author of the Fight Club book went, movie's better.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. And so, like... But then you have a book like... I read Aragon when it came out, and I was super hyped about that. And when that movie came out, I walked out of that theater going, that didn't make any sense.
Nope.
I don't like any of what just happened. But my dad was with me, and he went, that was a pretty good, weird fantasy thing. And I was like, Dad, you don't know.
Right.
I'm trying to think of other, like... What are book movies I really like? I really liked The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe.
Sure.
And also The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe is, like, spot on, take for take, everything that happens in that book.
Yeah.
I mean, we just watched the most accurate Christmas Carol.
I mean, pretty much, yeah.
So.
That's really good.
Yeah.
Like, hands down, yeah. Any Christmas Carol, though. I love them. I don't know. I can't think of too many. Oh well, here's another good one. I've seen American Psycho the movie, And then when I went to read the book, it was too intense, and I had to stop because it got too gross.
Okay.
So it wasn't the book was bad. It's just I could stomach the movie better than the book.
Right.
There's that.
I would ask, how do you feel about Stephen King books versus the Stephen King movies?
It depends on which one you're talking about. Because if it's Christine, it's perfect both ways.
Okay.
If it's the book's better because it handles the subject better, but the movie's still really enjoyable.
Okay.
Shining. The Shining is a masterpiece of a movie and a very, very good book, even though they have very different endings and some very different major things happen.
Okay.
But, I mean, The Shining is The Shining. Name other things. Carrie. Carrie is a great book and movie.
Pet Sematary?
Pet Sematary is about equal to itself.
Okay. I'm struggling for Stephen King books now.
Dreamcatcher.
Sure.
Which is just, I mean, there's some big differences, but I still like everything that happens in both.
Misery? Is that Stephen King?
Misery is pretty much par for the course for both things. Actually, Stephen King's stuff has a pretty good reputation, no matter what.
Yeah, I'm. Stanley Kubrick is one of those people that stands out as taking books and then making just masterpiece movies out of them, even though they were already pretty good books.
Right.
So, but they're like different. Like Will said, the Shining book and the Shining movie are kind of different beasts. And I mean, that's what happens when you have someone like Stanley Kubrick doing it. But like most book to movies now are like they're almost like the new horror. Like horror used to be the genre that new directors showed up to get their foot in the door, and now it's like, can you adapt this popular young adult book into a movie?
Right.
If you can, welcome to Hollywood.
Congratulations.
And like, I mean, we've seen people like John Green, who was already very successful, release one of the most successful books ever, and then release a movie based on that book, which was also very successful, and then because that movie was so successful, all of his other books are getting turned into movies now, and he's just riding this awesome wave of, I can do whatever I want, I guess. And I haven't... The two movies that have been made of his books are the two books of his I haven't read, and I haven't seen either of those movies either. But people seem to be pretty on board with all that. I think the part of the problem also is it really depends on, like, if you know a movie's coming out and then you read the book in anticipation of seeing the movie, you're going to have a much different experience than if you already like the book.
Sure.
And then you know the movies. Because, like...
I'm trying to think. There's got to be something I've done that with before.
Because I loved the John Dies at the End book. And I was not a fan of that movie, even though the author of the book was very involved, and the guy who directed the movie is a very cool director. But the whole movie did that thing that, like, the Scott Pilgrim movie does. Both of those movies are enjoyable, but about midway through they fall apart because they have to cram too much in. So, like, I love the Scott Pilgrim movie, and the Scott Pilgrim books is one of those times where I heard the movie was coming out, it looked neat, and it's like, Edgar Wright's doing a movie based on comics, and I went, oh, I'll go read those. And then in, like, half a day I devoured all 6 books.
Right.
And went, yep, I'm on board. And then I went to see the movie. And a lot of my favorite stuff from the books is not in that. My all-time favorite thing from those books is not in that movie, which is, I mean, the actual resolution of Scott, like, figuring out why everything is happening the way it's happening.
Right.
That movie just cuts out the whole storyline of Scott and Nega Scott and, like, him being infected and, like, seeing the world different and stuff. The movie does that thing right at the end where it just kind of, like, takes that whole major plotline from the books and just kind of, like, makes a throwaway joke out of it. And, like, I've seen that movie enough now that, like, I really like that movie still.
Right.
Yeah.
But when I first walked out of that movie, I was the guy going, nope, didn't like it, not good. But then over time I realized it was an Edgar Wright movie. It was everything I wanted it to be.
Right.
I'm just being nitpicky at that point.
Well, that's part of the reason I bring this up, because The Martian was the first time, really, that...
Oh, yeah.
It got me so excited to read the book after watching that film. So I'm wondering, had I seen those movie adaptations of books first, and then gone back and read the book, would my experience have been any better than reading this book, being really excited, and then disappointed by the movie, as opposed to watching the movie, being really excited, reading the book, and then going, oh, this is so much better.
The problem is it's hard to know.
Right.
It's hard to know if books you loved, if you had seen the movies first, if you'd still love those books in the same way.
Mm-hmm.
I guess on the whole, I'm still, even though I don't practice it anymore, I'm still an advocate of reading the books before the movies, because once you've seen the movie, the one thing you're never going to get back from that book is you're going to read the book and see stuff from the movie.
Right.
It's like how I can never really go back and read Harry Potter now because I just see Daniel Radcliffe. Not that that's bad. I don't know who else they would've got
but
to be
he
Harry
looks
Potter.
exactly like Harry Potter
does look
anyway,
exactly
so it
like
doesn't
Harry Potter.
matter.
But it's like Artemis Fowl.
Yeah.
There's part of my mental depiction of Artemis Fowl is that I've always pictured his butler, as a tall, skinny dude.
But he's like a giant hulky man.
But he's a giant hulky man.
He's like a WWE dude.
Yeah, and the books describe him as a giant hulky man.
Yeah, they do.
But I read him when I was young enough, and I took a different character from a different thing and put it in his place, and read all the books that way. And then it was only when I read the most recent one that I realized he's a big hulky dude, and I went, oh, that movie's going to come out and blow up my brain. Because as soon as I see big hulky butler on the screen, I'm going to go, right, my mental image of that character has been wrong for my entire life.
Right.
So, yeah, I've always been a big advocate of books, and the mental movie you get out of a book can sometimes be, 1,000 times better than whatever the movie does. But it's like movies that aren't as fantastical, like Fight Club. Like, I don't know that your mental images of people in Fight Club are going to be that destroyed by that movie.
Mm-hmm.
But like Harry Potter and stuff, like you can see the magic, you see the people. As soon as that movie puts form to those thoughts, you go, oh, that's what it really looked like, and what I thought was incorrect, which is a jarring. And that might be part of the reason why people don't like movies based on books that they like, because the movie suddenly goes, I changed a thing you liked and made it look different than in your head, and people just immediately go, no, that's wrong.
Mm-hmm. So even if you knew beforehand that maybe if you watched the movie before reading the book, you would enjoy both better, you would still read the book first?
If I knew I was going to like both better in a certain way, I'd probably do it that way.
Right.
But I'd err on the side of...
since we don't know.
Since we don't know, if I was going to get real snobby about it, I'd err on the side of always just read the book. Fuck the movies. Burn them.
Right.
Burn them down.
Okay.
But I know this isn't the world doesn't work like that, so do whatever you want. Be your own person.
Do what you want. If you don't want to read the book, don't read the book. If you do, do. Yeah.
Yep. And if the movie based on the book you like isn't as good as you wanted it to be, still take it in stride, because even if you hated that movie, someone else liked it, and now they're reading the book because of it, and the author you like is getting more money, and it's just kind of good for everyone. I feel like there hasn't been very many movies based on books that have done so poorly they've hurt the book, except maybe I Know What You Did Last Summer.
Yeah.
Because the author of I Know What You Did Last Summer saw that movie and went, nope, bad, take my name off it.
I know... Well, I don't know if it's hurt the series at all, but like movies like the Chronicles of Narnia movies, where the movies have just stopped now because the last one was just...
the silver chair is coming out.
Oh, it is?
Yep.
Well, I'm wrong there.
It's going to be a while, but it is coming. I just checked this like 2 days ago. I was like, is there going to be more? Because, as I've told you before, Dylan, I desperately want a Last Battle movie done all the right ways.
Yeah.
But we got to do Silver Chair first, because that's like the closest that Narnia gets to like Lord of the Rings level storytelling.
Right.
But it's fine, because it's awesome.
I would also just like to...
What?
If I could make a rule that Hollywood now has to follow, it's legally binding.
Okay.
Don't start making movies out of the books until the books are done.
Yes.
Because it bothers me, and it bothers me that sometimes the movies can start to influence the way the books work.
Mm-hmm.
I can't think of that many examples of this happening, but when it does happen, it makes me upset. I mean, and it's sort of happening right now with Game of Thrones, where the books and the show have caught up to each other, and now the show is just going, we're going to go do whatever we want now.
Right.
We have free reign, and it's just George R. R. Martin going, yeah, I'll get those books out eventually. It's like, that seems, to the people who've been fans of those books for, 20 years,
that's pretty crazy.
It's must be a bummer for them.
Right.
To know that they're gonna get to see the fake ending version of the thing they've been investigating.
The fan fiction version.
Yeah, they're gonna see the fan fiction version first.
Sure.
I mean, they can avoid it, but just our whole culture now is like, this is the real one, and they're going, no,
it's not.
And the worst thing that could happen is the show does an ending, and then George R. R. Martin goes, "Oh, that was better than what I was gonna do, so I guess I'm done, or I guess I'm going to finish writing the books just exactly like the show, because they already did it.
They did it better.
They did it better than me. I don't think he'd do that.
No.
He's
George R. R. Martin.
He's a cool dude who knows what he's doing.
He is a pretty neat dude.
But if there's a thing that's going to happen, and if it does happen, I'm going to be just incredibly upset at everything. If a Name of the Wind movie comes out before the Stone Door comes out, my head will explode. Because it's not fair. I want the Stone Door. I need to know how that ends.
Patrick Rutherford, please hurry up. So, that's all we have to say on that?
You got anything else?
Yeah.
Okay. My final topic I have is a completely different topic. VR.
Virtual reality.
Yep.
Put it on your face, Oculus Rift, see stuff. Is it the next big thing?
Yeah.
Or is it closer to the Kinect, in that everyone's pushing it real hard, but it's never going to take off?
It depends on how well they get it down.
I've always been of the opinion that even if it's going to get good enough to take off, I don't want it to. Because when I was in middle school, I read a book that's called The Reality Bug, which is about, it's part of the Pendragon series, and the kid goes to a universe where they perfected VR and made giant pyramids called Lifelike, and everyone on the planet lives in the pyramids, and the whole world is gone.
The Pendragon series is actually one of my favorite series.
Very good series.
Very good series.
It's one of those series that actually the last book ended well, and I went, oh, good.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't feel betrayed for spending 10 years of my life on it. But the fourth book, Reality Bug, is such a nightmare, and it was the thing that first exposed me to the idea of the reason we've never met aliens is because they perfected VR, and they all went into giant VR simulations. And on one hand, maybe that's where life ends. Maybe that's where life ends up. Maybe that's where we're supposed to go.
Right.
We just, since that's a possibility, we're all just going to end up in VR, and then we're not going to care, because then we're going to live forever in a virtual reality where everything's awesome all the time.
We're going to live forever as we are now.
Yeah, exactly. In recent years, I've realized that augmented reality is a thing, and I want that to be everything.
Yes.
Because then we're still living in the real world, but we've brought virtual stuff into it, and it just improves upon reality as opposed to making an awesome fake reality. My hope is that virtual reality gets confined to video games and does become like the Wii. It's an innovation for video games, and maybe movies. Just as long as it's it's like entertainment, but not. I never want to get to the point where somebody goes, we put Second Life in it, so just strap in and lay down. It's like the second Sword Art Online becomes a reality.
So you don't want Sword Art Online to be a thing?
No. I mean, I do. It's so cool.
It is so cool.
The second that happens, I'm going to go, no, you're all going to get trapped in vegetative states, and a guy's going to come out and go, you have to beat the game or you'll all die. I'd much rather... It's like... They just announced Pokemon Go, which is what I've always wanted in an augmented reality game. So I just want Nintendo to... I mean, Nintendo, as far as I know, hasn't been developing VR stuff like everyone else is. Like, Sony has a helmet, and Valve has a helmet, and...
Microsoft has a helmet.
Microsoft has a helmet.
Google Glass!
Yeah, and but Google Glass is
augmented reality.
Exactly. So I want that to be the thing that takes. I want Google and Nintendo to partner, and Nintendo go, the real world's good, but it could be better. Let's throw Pokemon in it everywhere.
Right.
I want everyone to then realize that that's way cooler than putting on a helmet and being in fake Pokemon world. And
so the question becomes, with things like Samsung Gear, where you just put your phone on your face and you can do virtual reality. It's much cheaper to get into. More people are. Do you see that taking off to the point where we want to develop this further, and sensory deprivation and more vegetative state stuff, like full body VR? Do you ever see that transition happening?
I do. It makes me scared, but I definitely do. I see a point in the future where I see humanity doing a thing where... Have you heard of the Void? It's like a giant VR, basically laser tag arena, but you put on the helmet and then it's got actual obstacles, but then the helmet's projecting... it's projecting that weird square block in front of you is actually a small hill, and you climb over it.
What?
And and then you can see, it allows you to see other people that are also wearing the helmets and interact with them, and it's a very cool thing, but as much as they're selling it as VR, it's more AR, because you're in a physical space that actually has those limitations, and the helmet is just projecting fiction onto the real.
Okay, yeah, that is AR.
Yeah, so I would like to see those kind of, AR arcades pop up everywhere. I want the arcade to come back and it be, you go into a place, you go into a laser tag arena, pay somebody $20, put on a helmet and get a gun, and just run through a physical obstacle course.
So what's the difference between that and something you strap into and feel like you're running around, but you're just standing in place? So that's more virtual reality.
That is more virtual reality, and I feel like that's just one step down the... I don't want to say slippery slope, because that's a horrible, stupid argument.
But what is the difference between that and having an arena where something's projected?
Because you're developing at a standstill. The idea in that instance is to make it a contained thing. I could also see that same arcade that has the track that you're running around and jumping over stuff, but then out in the lobby they have one of those giant omnidirectional treadmills, and those are the quarter machines. You put a quarter in and you jump in and get to play that for a little while. I can see all of those existing together. My fear is that if you walk into an arcade and it's all omnidirectional treadmills, basically at that point you're walking into a gym, so I guess it's still fine. But the next step of that, I think, is weird tanning salon beds that you just lay down in and have an experience where your body isn't actually moving or feeling anything. At that point, you're just making dreams a thing. Because in dreams, you can still feel stuff, but your body's not. It's it can move, but it's just moving weird.
So where does that difference happen? Because take, I guess, when I went to Disney, they have, what's it called? It's this arcade area, sort of, on the boardwalk. And for the life of me, I can't remember what it's called. But they had, when I was there, a virtual reality pirate ship.
Okay.
You stand 2 rows of 3 and facing opposite directions, and everyone has a cannon.
Yeah.
And you're firing at other ships.
Right.
And the ship kind of steers itself. And what's the difference between sitting there with virtual reality helmet versus having that same setup, but things projected on the walls so that it's augmented reality? Where does it start to separate?
Augmented reality is when you have a room in front of you, and then something is VR is completely non-physical. It is just a screen in front of your eyeballs. Augmented reality is something in the real world with something added to it.
Okay.
So even if it's as cut and dry as, am I projecting a screen in front of me, or am I wearing a screen in front of my eyes, that would be the very bare minimum basic between the two.
And I think we should start erring towards the side of projecting it onto walls and stuff, because I guess I really just want to make sure we keep people grounded in reality on some level. And also, I think it'd be a more rewarding experience, because if it is just a screen, how is that any different than video? Like, virtual reality right now seems to be more, you're just putting the screen way closer to your eyes, and, like, you can have peripheral vision, and, like, it's cool, but, like, is it really adding that much to the experience? Whereas if you put on you did, like, an augmented reality, put on a helmet, and then suddenly you're walking down the street of, like, 1700s London or something. Mm-hmm. Like, you're just playing the new Assassin's Creed, but you're actually running around, and you wouldn't even have to run around. Stuff would start to appeal to more people, because then it's like you can physically experience things as if you're there, as opposed to, like, just watching a movie real close to your eyes. Mm-hmm. It's like how they just came out with that new... They rebooted the Viewmaster.
Right.
Which is just...
That's crazy.
You just put your phone in it and then strap it to your head, and you're in, like, 3D environments, and you can, like, turn around and look and see.
Yeah.
And, like, that's still more virtual reality because there's not physical correspondence. Mm-hmm. But, like, I would want that, but then you walk into a room and, like, they have things set up so, like, you see a plant, you can walk over and touch a thing that feels like a... Like, I feel like virtual reality is right on the verge of cutting out phisicals experience.
Right.
And I want to keep that apart.
External sensory deprivation.
Yeah, exactly. It's never appealed to me, the idea of a person lying on a bed, putting a helmet on, and playing a whole video game while just not moving and sitting. I mean, video games now, at least you have, like, your hands are doing something. Like, for all of the Wii's faults, it was a good idea to have movement. Like,
yeah.
more movement incorporated. And I think, as lazy a person as I am, the one thing that can always motivate me to get active is gamifying something.
Right.
So, I mean, the second I can go to the Void and actually play a game there, I'd be there already if it wasn't in, Ohio.
Yeah.
I would have been, or Utah. I would have been there yesterday.
Right.
But it's in Utah, and I don't want to physically travel to Utah to then fake physically travel around a room. I want them to build a second one here, and then I'll go to it, like, every weekend.
Right.
It'll be awesome.
So the question then becomes, if what you're saying is true, and VR right now is heading down that path, once it becomes a thing, do you strap in?
I have a thing where if any new technology works and is safe, I'm on board completely. Every time. Never fight it.
If Sword Art Online works, is safe, you can leave at any time, no matter what, do you play Sword Art Online?
I feel like I definitely try it. I'm already scared saying that, because that's what everybody that actually played Sword Art Online was thinking they were doing. But I definitely try it, but then I don't know that it would become, like, my main source of entertainment or anything. I don't even know that I do it, more than once or twice. Yeah, I mean, I guess it depends on how much it appeals to me. But I feel like, for me, there's a threshold where they're going to cross a threshold where it becomes too sedentary, too much sensory deprivation, and it's going to become extremely unappealing to me. And then there's a second threshold to cross, which is the line of actually just downloading your brain into a computer. Mm-hmm. Like, I guess that's the thing. What scares me is a world full of giant pyramids where our physical bodies are strapped into weird life support machines while we're living in a virtual reality. Mm-hmm. What doesn't scare me is a world full of pyramids that are filled with the just data versions of our brains, and we all just live in weird data space, and our physical bodies don't exist anymore.
That might be okay.
Because then at least, if it's just your brain existing in sort of... Because that's already what I kind of think of the universe. Like, the universe is just filled with electrical energy that is everybody who's died, brains just floating around. Like, that's what spirits are, is just the leftover electricity of our brains after we die floating around and becoming part of the universe. That's really cool. So if we just manually did that and plugged into the universe and then... Because at the end of that day, if you're really bummed out about not having a body, build a robot.
Yeah.
Download yourself into a robot. Now you're walking back around. I mean, if we're advanced enough to download our brains into computers, we're probably advanced enough to make fake robot bodies, I feel. The
Matrix versus that one library episode of Doctor Who.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm definitely I'll plug into the machine once I am the machine.
All right.
I'll become the machine. But if I'm a flesh person and enslaved by the machine, that's not okay.
Okay. Well, that's all I got.
That's it?
That's it.
Alright, I've got mine now.
Okay.
Here we go. This one's actually contributed by our roommate, Michael. And Michael and me were walking, and he went, "What is the worst last words you could have?"
Okay.
And I said, "What do you mean?" Because I kind of went, "Well, no matter what, your last words kind of can mean something, because they are your last words." And he was saying that he had texted you when we were walking, and he'd asked you a thing, and you'd said a thing, and he said a thing, and then you said, "Yeah, they're like green," or something. And his last text was, "Oh." And so I was like, but what if that was the last thing I'd ever really sent to anybody? And I was like, and then I came up with this whole thing about how, no, it has a charm to it, because it was this whole conversation. I said, put it in a dinner table, where you go, "Hey, what's this?" And then you go, "This," and then he goes, "This," and then he goes, "Oh." Bam! And it's like there's a punctuation to it. Right. So like you can make there be a meaning to that. And I came up with the worst thing you could possibly have as last words is meaningless words. So just like if you're walking outside and it's really hot and you go, "Sure is hot," and then you get hit by a car and you die. And they go, "What did he say?" Right, it's like, well, it was meaningless small talk. Nobody even cared.
See,
like that's the worst thing.
Yeah, because if you said it sure is hot and then got hit by a car, if you said it sure is hot and then you
exploded in fire,
burst into flames, or even died of dehydration suddenly, at least your words mean something in the context of your death. But yeah, if you say "it sure is hot out today" and then a car hits you, it's like no one's ever going to quote you later on. I mean, I guess even then you could, if you were famous enough, maybe people would be like, "Isn't this hilarious?"
Well, because then I was saying, because he was like, "Well, what if you just said something boring?" And I said, "Well, I don't know who it is. It might be a president, but there was some guy who died, and he like looked at the curtains and went, the drapes sure look bad for this room," and then he died, and like right. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So like is because I was trying to think of something just not something that was boring but not quirky enough that you could get into it, and the best thing I could come up with is just meaningless small talk. So what is the worst thing that could be your last words that would just anybody would see them and go,
Well, I've always thought that like the worst last words of history are stuff like that one like Civil War general who died after saying the enemy couldn't hit the broadside of a barn with a bullet, and then like got shot in the head and died.
That's awesome last words.
Well, no,
it has like relevance to why he died.
I mean, it does, but like it's effectively like my ultimate worst last words would be something like me looking you dead in the eye and going, "I'm gonna live forever," and then immediately getting killed somehow. It's like I feel like the
okay.
If I died at a moment of extreme confidence,
and ironic to your words, death.
Well, not even that. Just being confident that I'm like being thrilled to be alive, and just unexpectedly the death comes after you've celebrated something.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Like,
I mean, you're just describing people dying as a joke. It seems.
What do you mean?
Like just you celebrating a thing and then dying or something. It just sounds like they sound like punchlines.
Yeah, I guess that's the worst. That's the worst way to go out.
Okay.
Is your death being a giant punchline that people quote for all of time, going.
But then it's
funny.
An immortal death.
Yeah, but it's one thing to be remembered, but it's another thing to be remembered
as a joke.
Like if I guess unless that's not the only thing people remember, like that general. His last words were kind of a joke, and people quote it all the time. But like people also remember him as being a general. But like if you were just a normal dude going about your life and you never did anything extraordinary, and the only thing people know you for is because you were like at a birthday party and you said, "This is the best birthday party ever, and I love all my friends, and we're going to be together forever," and then a plane crashed and killed you, and people remember you for that, but nothing else about your life. They just go, "Have you heard the story of John Smith? He
said this thing and then he died because of this thing."
Yeah, and that's it, and that's your legacy. I guess that's your last words can only be bad if they become your entire legacy, I guess. Because even if like your last words are inane, it's better that people remember. Like at least your family will continue to remember you as the like person you were.
What do you think, Ryan?
I'm not real big on last words. Like they've never been important to me. So, I guess the worst thing would probably be just something like, "Oh fuck," and then get hit by a car, and those are your last words.
No, because that's hilarious.
But it's not.
Yeah, it is. That's really funny.
You see that and you go, "Oh, okay, you got hit by a car. That makes sense. I mean, that's it. You're done." You're not remembered by saying, "Oh fuck." You're remembered. You got hit by a car. No one remembers your last words.
Huh.
You know what the best last words are?
No.
Whoops.
Yep.
Are they?
Just. But whoops, and then being killed by something that's not your fault. Like
I would want to change it up. If like something was about to fall on me and I couldn't get out of the way, I would just go, "I consent," and then I die.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, I know.
I don't know. Well, now I'm thinking, if my last words were, "I'm gonna live forever," and then I accidentally died, it'd be one thing. But if I knew I was about to die and I just screamed, "I'm gonna live forever,"
see, that's why
then I'm screaming it in defiance.
It's the context.
So, yeah, definitely. If your last words are something you scream in defiance of death, you're pretty cool.
Right.
So I guess I'm sort of with you in that if it's inane and doesn't matter.
Like it doesn't matter in real life, so it's definitely not.
Like you're walking down the sidewalk and talking about dividends to your friend who's walking next to you, and then you get hit by a safe. Like it has nothing to do with what happened.
Right.
It just you were talking about something that didn't matter at all.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying would be the worst.
Yeah.
What do you guys think the worst way to die is?
Anyone who's gotten a Darwin Award.
Yeah. Yeah, those are people who, their legacy was their death, which is pretty bummer. I used to be really afraid of burning to death.
Really?
Yeah.
Drowning is my biggest scary.
Because I've heard people say, I don't know how they know this, but I've heard people say that drowning isn't as painful a death. Like it's more peaceful.
No, it's not.
I've heard freezing.
What?
Is the way to go.
Yeah, freezing I've heard is peaceful.
Drowning is pure panic until you pass out.
Yeah.
Well, it's not nice.
But fire is like pure pain until you pass out. Like I like it's neither one's good, but I feel like I'd rather die through panic than die through pain.
I mean, your chest feels like it's gonna there's pain when
no,
you
there's
can't
pain
breathe.
involved, but I feel like burning to death would hurt worse.
Okay.
I feel like whatever death is the most painful death is the one I want least.
Yep. And that's pretty much everyone ever.
Yeah.
So
I am not a unique person in that regard.
But it's like famously worst way to die is like drowning is always at the top of the list.
But how would we know? That person's dead now.
People get brought back from being drowned.
Yeah.
10 worst ways to die.
But if you come back from being drowned, you don't have to put up with like your entire body being a big weird scar for the rest of your life. Like, because you can survive burning, and then just your skin's bad forever. Or like is a slow painful death like cancer worse? Because at least with fire it hurts real bad, but then it stops because you're dead. But with cancer it hurts real bad for months and months and months, and then you're dead. So yeah, disease is probably the worst.
Number 1, buried alive. Number 2, burning. Number 3, drowning.
Yeah, I guess buried alive would be pretty bad, because then you're like, the panic isn't as immediate. It's a slow panic.
Depends on how you're buried alive.
What do you mean?
Are you in a box buried alive?
I assume they mean box buried alive.
Because then you just run out of oxygen fast, and you get real sleepy, and you fall asleep, and then you're dead.
Yeah, but up until that point, you have to.
You're in panic.
You just have to like wake up and realize what's happened to you first.
Yeah, but
like
then,
I can't imagine the terror of somebody waking up in a grave. Because
right.
like if you're buried alive, but they're just dumping dirt on you, there's like. It's bad, but there's still hope because you can dig through the dirt if they don't pack it down real hard on top of you. But if you're in a box, especially modern coffins, like you're not getting out of that coffin. So
at that point, you just kind of accept that you're dead.
Like you could, but I feel like people faced with death in that situation would just spend a good long while having a good great panic about it. Movie Buried is a good movie, but it's an hour and a half long just panic attack basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could see. I don't know, because also like the problem with being buried alive or drowning, they both. Or I guess they both have however small a thing in the back of your head thinking I could make it out of this still. Like someone could come dig up the coffin, someone could jump in the water and pull you out and breathe life back into you. But like disease and stuff, like people who get cancer just suddenly go, oh right, this is just my life now.
Yeah, that's the worst.
And there's like a chance of you getting better from cancer, but for the most part it just sucks. And like if you're trapped in a box, there's never a point, I think, where you're trapped in that box buried alive that you go, oh, I have to kill myself because this is hopeless. But if you have cancer, like that's a very real thing. It's just like, oh, I'm gonna die anyway, so I might as well go out on my own terms. I feel like any kind of death that takes away hope would be the worst death.
Right.
That's pretty good.
Although, in terms, I guess this doesn't really matter for other terminal illnesses, but when it comes to cancer, usually the treatment's the worst part.
Right.
Like if you try to stay alive, that's when you're going to suffer, as opposed to just letting that tumor grow and grow and grow and finally snap and you're dead.
Right. We gotta come up with a better way to treat cancer.
We do.
Like even if I never get cancer, even though it's a real possibility, I just cancer as a thing that exists just makes me feel bad. That's the understatement of the year.
Yep.
But oh man, it's horrible.
Great.
And then the silence.
Killed the fucking podcast with cancer.
Good.
What was your topic?
I have a bunch, but I think the one I want to ask you guys.
Closeout topic.
The closeout topic since Ryan's here. I'm just genuinely curious to hear both your answers to, if you had a time machine, I wrote top 3, but just where would you go?
Go back in time, invest money, be rich now.
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah.
That's always the first move.
You wouldn't be afraid you'd fuck up the timeline?
No, I'm just investing in like companies and stuff. I'm putting I'm putting $1 in a bank somewhere.
Okay, just $1?
I mean, yeah, like in the 1800s.
Because let's say
what
you invest too much, the company gets cocky with all the success they've had, and then they fuck up, and they don't succeed as well.
If I go back and buy 2% of Yahoo, Google, and just like and Microsoft, then it doesn't matter.
No, but
yeah. But I mean, now that's 2% of Google, Microsoft, and Yahoo. Like, I'm fine.
I guess the more interesting version of this question is because that is just clearly the right answer. If you have a time machine, if you had a time machine that doesn't let you affect the past or the future.
So you can go to places just to see things?
Yeah. If you could see any 3 events from history.
Oh, well, then you go to the future and see what the next big company is.
Damn it.
Yeah.
Why do you keep beating me?
I mean, you said I could see stuff, you didn't say I could affect anything. Because going to the future, you can't affect anything as far as you're concerned anyway.
You're just Back to the Future 2ing the whole
I'm
your
just
whole
letting
life.
you know what's going on.
Yeah.
And then as far as if I could go to the past and just witness shit,
Yeah.
I
Let's go with
would.
that, then.
Can I witness things from any point of view, or do I have to be at the spot that the time machine's at?
Yeah. You can.
If I can't affect anything, can nothing affect me as well?
Right. Yeah.
Okay, and
You
it's just
just-
on the ground. I
Yeah.
want to see Pangea break.
Oh, okay, sure. I assumed that they could fly and stuff and just take you wherever you wanted to look at.
Okay, yeah, then I want to see Pangea break apart.
That'd be pretty neat.
I want to see. I want to. Do we get more? If we go back to find a thing that we don't know about and we're wrong, does that count?
What?
I want to see if Atlantis is there or not.
Oh, it's not.
It's not.
How do you know? You don't know.
Because
You weren't
Socrates,
there.
it was a thought experiment.
Yeah,
No,
he made it
wasn't.
up.
No, you guys don't know.
He definitely made
You
it
guys
up.
don't know that.
That's a fact.
No, it's not.
Okay.
I don't know.
You know, you lose that trip. You lost that trip.
Okay, so I go back and I don't get to see anything?
Yeah. I mean, you get to see Socrates in his bed go, "What if a city sank?" And then
No!
you get to come back.
No! That's
That was-
not true.
That was my Greek
That's
accent.
a really good Disney movie, so you don't know.
What about you, Ryan?
Oh man, I don't know. I would go I'm gonna play nicer than Will and say I can't affect my own life by doing this. To just sightseeing.
Yeah.
Wait, how is it being nice to not get some money? I don't understand.
No, you've already got the money, so we're all set.
We're good.
It doesn't matter what Ryan
Wait a
does with his
second.
time machine wishes.
What? What are you saying here? And also, I only had 2 wishes. I get one more.
No, you went to the future, and then you went to see Atlantis, and then you went to see Pangea. Those are your 3
No,
time
wait.
machine wishes.
Wait.
What about you, Ryan?
I wouldn't go far enough to find out when I died,
Loser.
but I would try to get as close as possible.
What does that mean?
Because I don't want to know when I've died. That's just a bad
You just want to
bad knowledge to have.
see. You just want to see the.
I want to see as far into the future as I can.
Okay,
without-
but you're guessing?
Yeah.
So
Like-
how far do you go?
Like, I go 60 years into the future because I expect to live to at least
But
80.
then you find out you're not
But
there.
then I find out I'm not there.
So then
and
you're
it
just
fucks up.
then you're on your knees in front of a grave that's got snow over it. And
Right.
You go, tell me, are these things that will be or things that may be only?
Right.
And then it's not your grave, and you walk by and you go, oh, okay.
I'm
Cool.
going to try my hardest not to find out when I've died, but
Yeah.
if that happens, then I know. And then just to see where like technology and stuff is at, because I'm very curious as to what's going to happen 20, 40, 60 years from now. And then I would go back to see Star Wars in its original theatrical release,
Sure.
because, yeah,
Yeah.
you would do that.
Uh-huh.
But then after that, I don't know. I know I've thought about this before, and there are some things.
I would go back and
Not-
look at something that's been heavily disputed throughout
Right.
history.
Like, not Atlantis, but something that we kind of guessed at, but are not really 100% for sure.
Sure. I feel like one of the main things I want to go back and see. God, Pangea is a really good answer. I never even thought about that. But I feel like I'd go back and see how... I just watched them build Stonehenge.
Mhm.
I've always loved Stonehenge, and I just want to... Like, I know they probably just used weird wheels and pulleys and shit or something.
Probably.
It wasn't aliens, but maybe it was aliens, and I want to know. I want to know now. Because, like, I don't believe the pyramids were built by aliens. That's... I mean, we already know how the pyramids are built, but Stonehenge is
aliens.
weird.
What about dragons? Because, like, they're in every culture worldwide, which is weird.
I have a very strong... Me and Will both have very strong opinions about dragons, and I would love to see a dragon, but I feel like I'd be wasting a time machine wish.
Dragons aren't real.
Yeah, because he thinks dragons aren't real.
They're not real and they're stupid.
But they're very cool, and I
Nope.
would love to see a real dragon.
Dumb.
Uh,
It's just a bunch of popular ideas thrown together to make the most popular dumb pop thing ever.
Because I don't like dinosaurs enough to go back and see them.
They have bat wings. Why would a lizard have bat wings?
And then, like it always feels like one of the right answers to this question is go back and see Jesus, but like...
What? Why would you see Jesus?
I don't know, that's what everybody says when you ask him.
I've never heard that.
I was about to say it, actually.
Yeah.
That's because you're a fucking Catholic.
I mean, that wasn't the reason.
It is too the reason.
It wasn't to go, oh my god, the Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. It would be, who was this guy? Like, how did this start? How did this happen?
Did you see the scientist's most accurate picture of Jesus that just came out?
Oh, was it good? What do you look like?
I mean, he looks like a
Middle Eastern dude.
Middle Eastern dude.
It's
he looks like the most average Middle Eastern
I think
dude.
it would be really funny if you went back to go see Jesus, and it was it just was Andy Kaufman.
That would be pretty great.
He was already there. He was Jesus.
I know.
He got a time machine first.
I don't know. Because I love. I feel like two of my wishes. The first wish would be, I'd go back to see the Sermon on the Mount. That's what I do. I'd see the Sermon on the Mount, then I'd go see Stonehenge, and then I'd go see Vonnegut when
you guys are stupid.
Because the problem is I love Kurt Vonnegut so much, and Kurt Vonnegut has written.
Fine answer.
But he's written a bunch of times about how like the greatest thing humanity's ever done is the Sermon on the Mount. So I'd want to go see the Sermon on the Mount, and then I'd want to go see Kurt Vonnegut writing that the Sermon on the Mount is the greatest thing that's ever happened, and close the loop.
I guess I would go back in time and attend something of Phil Hartman's or Douglas Adams if I could. I didn't think about being able to witness our heroes do something.
Yeah.
That's a pretty cool idea.
I'd go sit through whatever.
You can't affect anything in the past. Like, do you mean we can't affect anything, or no matter what we do, nothing changes?
No, you're like a ghost when you're there.
How much of a ghost?
No one can see you.
No one can see you. No one can hear you.
So
it's
I'm time traveling back to the girls' locker room.
Okay.
I mean,
I'm gonna see boobs.
That's fine. You can do that.
I can, and I will.
The time machine doesn't judge you.
Why would it?
But the watcher does.
What if you could go back in time, but you can only change one mundane thing? You can't kill Hitler. You can't invest in anything. You can make one mundane change, though.
Mundane change?
Yes.
I mean, then it would be like petty revenge.
Like
Like
a dude embarrassed you one time in school and you
right,
put
so then I'd
gum on his chair or something.
I put mustard in his pants, something like that, yeah.
Immediately when you say, because obviously if you could change one thing in history, most people are going to say kill Hitler because it's just become the thing to say. But if I could only change one mundane thing, I might go back in time and when Hitler's being an artist, buy one of his paintings and go, this is the best thing I've ever seen. Don't ever give up on this. This is your calling. And just change history in a positive way.
Okay.
So Hitler never rises to power because he goes, that one dude, he was right. I have to do what I love and commit to art.
Right.
I do that. I do something like, if you told me I could go do one thing throughout all of history, but it had to be mundane, it couldn't be major, I'd just go to wherever the pivotal moment of history is and do the greatest act of kindness I possibly could.
What if it's like Doctor Who time locked? Like this has to happen because it is a pivotal moment.
Well, I mean, if it's time locked, then I'd have to go back to Volcano Day, right? Because that's it, right?
Right.
No, if stuff was time locked, I don't know.
Like it has to be mundane enough that it doesn't change major events in the future.
I mean, it's not a funny answer, but I might just go back to the day my grandma died and see her one last time.
Okay.
That's sad.
And just say hi to her right before she died, so I wouldn't affect anything, but
right.
Get closure finally.
That's nice.
Made myself really sad.
Why do you keep doing this?
No, Dylan!
It's a comedy podcast, guys.
No, it's not.
It's real funny.
Is cancer? Is this? Is the kids in Africa? You're destroying this. Next time on Geekula, it'll be me and Dylan again. Closing it out. It's all real good. That's the end of the podcast.
Ryan, you do your...
It's too late.
You do your close from the first episode. Great.
That?